Now to the double murder in Wilson County. We're learning the suspect is charged with killing his own brother and his mother. Police identifying the victims as 50-year-old Dana Jenkins and her 15-year-old son, Darren Cox. Jenkins' 25-year-old son, Darion Jenkins, is now charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. The victims were found inside a home yesterday evening on Snowden Drive. Cindy Bay has new reaction from the family.
Imagine a mother's heart swelling with pride and relief. Her son, locked away for years, finally comes home. She posts on social media, her words dripping with love. "My baby is home. Lord, I thank you." For 6 days, she holds on to hope, believing in second chances. But then, in a single moment, everything changes. A 911 call pierces the quiet of a Wilson, North Carolina evening. Police race to a home on Snowden Drive. What they find inside will haunt the small community forever. 2 bodies, a mother and her teenage son, dead. And the suspect? The very son she welcomed back with open arms. Welcome to Dark Truth Files, where we uncover the stories that grip your heart and linger in your mind. Today, we're diving into a case that's as heartbreaking as it is shocking. The murders of Dana Vanessa Jenkins and her 15-year-old son, Darren Cox, in Wilson, North Carolina. On March 31st, 2025, just days after his release from prison, 25-year-old Dana Jenkins was arrested for their deaths. This is a story of love, betrayal, and a community left reeling. How does a son turn on the family who fought for him? What drives someone to commit such an unthinkable act? And what secrets lie buried in the days leading up to that fateful night? Subscribe, hit the notification bell, and join us as we unravel the truth behind this senseless tragedy. Wilson, North Carolina, isn't the kind of place that makes national headlines. It's a tight-knit community of about 50,000, where people know their neighbors, and church is a cornerstone of life. But on March 31st, 2025, this town became the epicenter of a tragedy that would spark debates about recidivism, mental health, and the fragility of family bonds. This case isn't just about a crime. It's about the ripple effects of loss, the questions left unanswered, and the search for justice in a world that feels increasingly broken. Over the next 30 minutes, we'll walk you through every detail of this devastating case. From the lives of Dana and Darren, so full of promise, to the chilling events of that March evening. We'll explore the suspect, the motives, and the shocking twists that have kept this case in the headlines. But more than that, we'll honor the memory of 2 lives cut short and ask the questions that still haunt those left behind. So, grab a seat and let's uncover the dark truth behind the Snowden Drive tragedy. To understand this story, we need to start with the place where it unfolded. Wilson, North Carolina, is a town rooted in tradition. It's a place where tobacco fields once fueled the economy, where Sunday sermons echo through packed churches, and where families lean on each other through hard times. But like many small towns, Wilson has its struggles, poverty, crime, and the challenges of reintegrating those who've served time in prison. In 2025, North Carolina's prison system was under scrutiny, with over 30,000 inmates and a recidivism rate hovering around 40%. For families like the Jenkins, welcoming a loved one home from prison was both a celebration and a gamble. Dana Jenkins was no stranger to hardship. A single mother of 3, she worked tirelessly to provide for her children, leaning on her faith and her community to keep her grounded. Her youngest, Darren, was her pride and joy, a 15-year-old with a bright future. Her oldest, Dana, had walked a different path, one marked by trouble with the law. When he was released from prison on March 25th, 2025, Dana saw it as a fresh start. She had no idea that 6 days later, her world would come crashing down. In the days leading up to March 31st, something was off. Juanilla Cornegay, Dana's cousin and neighbor, noticed it. She later told reporters, "I said the look on his face. He's getting ready to do something." You could see it. The look, it told you everything. What was Duran planning? Was this a crime of passion, a moment of rage, or something more calculated? And why would a son, freshly released from prison, turn on the family who welcomed him home? Dana Vanessa Jenkins was the kind of woman who left an impression. At 50 years old, she was a pillar of strength, a single mother who juggled work, family, and faith with a grace that inspired everyone around her. Born and raised in Wilson, North Carolina, Dana was a product of this close-knit community. She grew up in the shadow of Mount Moriah Community Church, where her faith took root and became the cornerstone of her life. Her cousin, Juanilla Cornegay, described her to news outlets. She was a very sweet person, always smiled. I can see her smile right now. She always smiled. Dana's life wasn't easy. As a single mother, she raised 3 children, Duran, a daughter, and her youngest, Darren, on a modest income. She worked long hours, likely in a service or clerical job, though specific details about her employment are scarce. What we do know is that Dana poured her heart into her family. She was the kind of mom who showed up to every school event, who stayed up late helping with homework, and who never missed a Sunday service. Bishop Sherman Blandon of Mount Moriah Community Church told WN, just joyful. Their smiles were infectious. They would both light up a room. Darren Cox, Dana's youngest son, was only 15 years old, but he already had big dreams. A freshman at Bedingfield High School, Darren was known for his quiet respectfulness and his deep faith. Friends and teachers described him as a kid who always had a kind word, who never got into trouble, and who carried himself with maturity beyond his years. According to WRAL, Darren was active in Mount Moriah Community Church, where he dreamed of becoming a pastor someday. Darren's life revolved around his faith and his family. He was close to his mother, often seen by her side at church events or helping out at home. Neighbors called him always respectful, a kid who greeted everyone with a nod and a smile. He was the kind of teen who gave people hope, a reminder that even in a town grappling with crime and poverty, kids like Darren could shine. His school issued a statement after his death, saying, "Please keep the family in your thoughts, as well as the Bedingfield community, during this difficult time." Dana and Darren's bond was unbreakable. They were a team navigating life's challenges together. Dana's older son, Duran, had been in and out of trouble since his teens, with a criminal record that included larceny, breaking and entering, and malicious conduct by a prisoner. By 2021, he was serving time in a North Carolina prison, leaving Dana to raise Darren and her daughter alone. But Dana never gave up on Duran. She believed in redemption and the power of love to heal old wounds. When he was released on March 25th, 2025, after serving over 3 years, Dana was overjoyed. Her social media post that day was a testament to her hope. "My baby home. My MF baby. My baby is home." For Dana, Duran's release was a second chance, not just for him, but for their whole family. She dreamed of rebuilding what had been broken, of bringing her children together under one roof. But beneath the surface, there were tensions. Duran's time in prison had changed him. Family members later told WN that he seemed off in the days after his release, his demeanor distant, his eyes carrying a weight they couldn't quite place. Dana and Darren weren't just a family. They were part of a larger community that cherished them. Mount Moriah Community Church was their sanctuary, a place where they found solace and purpose. Bishop Sherman Blandon, who knew them well, spoke of their impact. "It has been very difficult, confusing, troubling. Even as a man of faith, I have a lot of questions." The church's Facebook page called Darren's death a heartbreaking loss, a sentiment echoed by neighbors and friends who couldn't fathom the tragedy. In Wilson, where poverty and crime cast long shadows, Dana and Darren were beacons of light. They represented resilience, faith, and the kind of love that holds a family together. But on March 31st, 2025, that light was extinguished in a way no one could have predicted. To understand how this happened, we need to walk to the final hours of their lives. A day that started like any other, but ended in unthinkable horror. March 31st, 2025, began like any other Monday in Wilson, North Carolina. The sun was setting, casting long shadows over Snowden Drive, a quiet street lined with single-story homes. Inside the Jenkins household, Dana was likely wrapping up her day, maybe cooking dinner or chatting with Darren about his schoolwork. The house, a cozy space filled with family photos and mementos, was a sanctuary for Dana and her children. But as the clock ticked closer to 5:30 p.m., something was brewing, something that would shatter this family forever. According to police reports, at around 5:23 p.m., the Wilson Police Department received a call described only as an unknown type call. The details of who made that call remain unclear. Perhaps a neighbor heard a disturbance, or maybe someone inside the home managed to dial 911. What we do know is that officers arrived at 1700 Snowden Drive southeast within minutes, their sirens cutting through the evening calm. When officers entered the Jenkins home, they were met with a scene of unimaginable horror. Dana Vanessa Jenkins, 50, and her 15-year-old son, Darren Cox, were found dead. The exact cause of death hasn't been publicly released, but early reports from ABC 11 suggested they may have been shot, though this was later corrected to clarify that the method of killing remains under investigation. The house, once a place of warmth and laughter, was now a crime scene, cordoned off with yellow tape as forensic teams moved in. Juanilla Cornegay, Dana's cousin who lived next door, watched the scene unfold from her porch. She later told WRL, "When I saw them turn the ambulance people away, I knew everything wasn't okay." Her words captured the gut-wrenching moment when hope gave way to dread. Within hours, police had a suspect in custody, Deron Dante Jenkins, Dana's 25-year-old son and Darren's older brother. He was arrested at the scene, his demeanor described as eerily calm by those who witnessed it. To piece together what happened, we need to rewind to the days and hours leading up to crime. Deron had been home for just 6 days, released from prison on March 25th after serving over 3 years for larceny of firearms, breaking and entering, and malicious conduct by a prisoner. Dana had welcomed him with open arms, her social media posts radiating joy. But according to Juanilla, something was off. At Bedingfield High School, counselors were brought in to support Darren's classmates, who struggled to process the loss of their friend. The question on everyone's mind was simple but impossible to answer. Why? Why would Deron, a son welcomed home with love, turn on his own family? To unravel this mystery, we need to look at the man at the center of this tragedy, the suspect whose actions have left the community searching for answers. Deron Dante Jenkins was no stranger to the law. At 25 years old, he had a criminal record that stretched back to his late teens. In December 2021, he was convicted in Wilson County of larceny of firearms, multiple counts of breaking and entering into motor vehicles, and malicious conduct by a prisoner. These weren't violent crimes, but they painted a picture of a young man caught in a cycle of trouble, unable to break free. He served just over 3 years in a North Carolina prison, released on March 25th, 2025, under a 9-month post-release supervision program. When Deron walked out of prison, he was given a second chance. Dana believed in him, believed he could turn his life around. But those who saw him in the days after his release noticed something troubling. Was Deron struggling with the weight of his past? Was he grappling with mental health issues that went unnoticed? Or was there something darker at play? The police haven't released an official motive, leaving room for speculation and theories. One possibility is a domestic dispute gone horribly wrong. Deron had been estranged from his family during his prison sentence. Returning home after such a long absence could have sparked tension, perhaps an argument over money, expectations, or unresolved grievances. Dana, a single mother, had poured her energy into raising Darren and her daughter. Did Deron feel left out, resentful of the life they'd built without him? Another theory points to mental health. Prison can take a toll, especially on someone as young as Duran. North Carolina's prison system has faced criticism for inadequate mental health support, with studies showing that up to 30% of inmates struggle with untreated mental health issues. Did Duran return home carrying unseen scars, unable to cope with the pressures of reintegration? Juanilla's observation about his look suggests he may have been battling inner demons, but without official reports, this remains a hypothesis. There's also the possibility of an external factor, someone or something else that influenced Duran's actions. Could he have been involved with old associates from his criminal past? Wilson has struggled with gang activity and drug-related crime, though there's no evidence linking Duran to either. Or could there have been a financial motive, perhaps tied to Dana's modest savings or property? These are red herrings, possibilities that linger in the absence of concrete answers. The police have kept details close to the chest, leaving community to grapple with speculation. What we do know is that Duran was arrested quickly, suggesting he didn't flee the scene. Was this a sign of remorse, shock, or something else? His demeanor during the arrest, described as calm, raises more questions than answers. Was he in a dissociative state, or was this a calculated act? The lack of a clear motive keeps this case shrouded in mystery, a puzzle that investigators are still working to solve. As news of Duran's arrest spread, Wilson was divided. Some saw him as a troubled young man who snapped under pressure, deserving of sympathy despite his actions. Others viewed him as a danger, a repeat offender who should never have been released. Social media posts on X reflected this split, with some users calling for justice and others questioning the system that let him out so soon. One post read, "How do you let someone with that record back on the streets?" This is on the system as much as him. The debate over Duran's release ties into larger questions about recidivism and rehabilitation. North Carolina's post-release supervision program aims to help former inmates reintegrate, but critics argue it's underfunded and poorly monitored. Did the system fail Duran, Dana, and Darren? Or was this tragedy inevitable, a collision of personal and systemic failures? As investigators dug deeper, new details would emerge that would shift the narrative and keep this case in the spotlight. On April 1st, 2025, Duran Dante Jenkins made his first court appearance, charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. The courtroom was packed, the air thick with tension. Dana and Darren's loved ones sat in silence, their grief palpable. But what happened next stunned everyone. Duran was initially given a $2.5 million bond, a decision that sparked outrage among the community. How could a suspect in such a heinous crime be eligible for bond at all? Within hours, the decision was revised and Duran was ordered held without bond, a move that quelled some of the public's anger but raised new questions about the judicial process. The bond hearing wasn't the only twist. Early reports from ABC 11 suggested that Dana and Darren had been shot, a detail that spread quickly across media outlets. But days later, the station issued a correction, stating that the cause of death was still under investigation. This raised eyebrows. Why the initial report of shooting? Was it a mistake? Or had police deliberately withheld details to protect the investigation? The uncertainty fueled speculation on social media, where users debated whether the murders involved a gun, a knife, or something else entirely. As forensic teams combed to the Jenkins home, the lack of public information about the cause of death became a focal point. Typically, in high-profile cases, police release basic details to calm public fears. But in Wilson, the silence was deafening. Was it a strategic move to preserve evidence? Or were investigators grappling with a crime scene that defied easy answers? The absence of a clear narrative allowed rumors to flourish. Some speculated about a domestic dispute gone violent, while others whispered about a possible mental health crisis. The media frenzy only grew as outlets like WRAL, ABC 11, and the North Carolina Beat dug into Duran's past. His criminal record, larceny, breaking and entering, and malicious conduct was dissected, with some reports painting him as a repeat offender who should never have been released. Others, like the root, highlighted the tragedy of a young man who seemed to spiral after prison, asking whether the system had failed him. The polarized coverage reflected a deeper divide in Wilson. Those who saw Duran as a product of a broken system versus those who believed he was simply a danger to society. By mid-April, the community was demanding transparency. A vigil for Dana and Darren, held at Mount Moriah Community Church, drew hundreds. Mourners lit candles and shared memories, but their grief was laced with anger. Bishop Sherman Blandon spoke at the vigil, his voice breaking, confusing, troubling. Even as a man of faith, I have a lot of questions. The church's Facebook page became a space for tributes, with one post calling Darren's death a heartbreaking loss. Meanwhile, Bedingfield High School offered counseling to students, a reminder of how deeply Darren's loss was felt. The investigation itself was slow to yield answers. Police urged anyone with information to come forward, providing contact numbers for the Wilson Police Department and Crime Stoppers. But as weeks passed, the lack of updates frustrated the community. Was there evidence tying Duran definitively to the crime? Were there other suspects or factors at play? The silence from authorities only deepened the mystery, leaving Wilson to grapple with its grief and its questions. Amid the uncertainty, one development offered a sliver of hope. Community activists began organizing forums to address recidivism and mental health, using Dana and Darren's deaths as a call to action. Groups like Mount Moriah Community Church partner with local organizations to advocate for better reentry programs for former inmates. One activist told WO, "If we don't support people coming out of prison, we're setting them up to fail, and families like the Jenkins pay the price." This push for change became a way to honor Dana and Darren, turning their tragedy into a catalyst for reform. As of July 15, 2025, Duran Dante Jenkins remains in custody at the Wilson County Jail, held without bond on 2 counts of first-degree murder. His initial court appearance on April 1st set the stage for a case that's still unfolding. No trial date has been publicly announced, and details about the evidence against him are scarce. The Wilson Police Department continues to investigate, urging anyone with information to contact them at 252-399-2323 or Crime Stoppers at 252-243-2255. The lack of updates has left the community in limbo. Dana and Darren's family, including their surviving daughter, are grappling with unimaginable loss. The funeral for Dana and Darren, held on April 12, 2025, was a somber affair attended by hundreds who came to pay their respects. WRAL reported that the service was a celebration of their lives, filled with gospel music and heartfelt tributes. But for those left behind, the pain is still raw, the questions still unanswered. Dana Vanessa Jenkins and Darren Cox were more than victims. They were a mother and son who lived with purpose, who brought joy to everyone they met. Dana's smile could light up a room, her faith a beacon for her community. Darren, just 15, was a young man with dreams of becoming a pastor, his kindness a testament to the values his mother instilled in him. They were taken too soon, their lives cut short in a tragedy that defies understanding. Their deaths have left a void in Wilson, a reminder of how quickly joy can turn to sorrow. But their legacy lives on in the memories of those who knew them, in the church that was their home, and in the community that continues to fight for justice in their name. The Snowden Drive tragedy raises hard questions. What role did the prison system play in Duran's actions? Could better support have prevented this outcome? And how do we balance justice for the victims with understanding the factors that lead to such crimes? These are questions for all of us, policymakers, communities, and individuals. As we await updates on Duran's case, we're left to wonder, what could have been done differently? And how can we honor Dana and Darren's memory by preventing future tragedies? Now, we turn to you, our Dark Truth Files community. What do you think drove Duran to this unthinkable act? Do you believe the system failed him, or was this a personal failing? And how can we support families like the Jenkins in the face of such loss? Share your thoughts in the comment below, and let's keep this conversation going. If you found this story as gripping and heartbreaking as we did, Please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay updated on the latest developments in this case and others like it. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the Dark Truth Files. Until next time, stay curious, stay compassionate, and keep seeking the truth.